So I have this friend, and this friend I met at the gym. Go figure. But he's a very interesting guy. Um, at first, I wasn't really interested in what he had to say because he was kind of annoying. But I was interested because he was talking about how he started using steroids, using testosterone, I should say. Um, but he kind of made it sound like he was just doing steroids. And in reality, he told me that his hormone levels were quite low. Um, I could definitely relate because that's why I started testosterone in 2019. And it was interesting because he had a story kind of similar to me, not the same thing, but it was it was kind of relatable, you know? Like when you find someone relatable to talk with, you kind of just like get this like new, not the same, but like a new but similar perspective on life. And so he was telling me that he also was doing OnlyFans, which I thought was really interesting, because I do OnlyFans too. And overall, I've had quite an interesting experience with it, and I enjoy it. But he told me he uh, he was having some trouble before he got on testosterone, and he told me it was on like Anavar and Masteron and growth hormone, and how it all those things combined like improved his life. And I was like, huh, that's really cool. It's good that you found something that made you feel so much better. And he said that he was kind of going through like this spiral of depression, and how he wanted to kill himself, and how he wanted to take his own life because of how shitty he felt. Um, and I was like, wow, gosh, like that's terrible. But it made sense in an odd way. And he was telling me how he had like all these different relationships that never worked out, and um, that mostly like triggered his anxiety, I guess. And he went through like multiple therapists and um, multiple like mental health specialists, even tried to go on antidepressants before he started doing steroids, um, to fix his mental problems. And so he was like telling me all this stuff, and we're both like working out, and I'm doing legs that day, and he this was like multiple days that he had told me these things, but he's uh he's a good friend of mine, and I enjoy that because like I don't have that many friends, to be honest. I'm kind of a loner, but he was telling me how like he had like all this depression and all this anxiety, and it was so bad that he just wanted to give up, like end it all. And I thought that was really sad. He said that his uh, one of his parents passed away, and it was like really extra hard for him at that point. And the fact that he was like constantly getting rejected and like everything in life. And I was like, well, fuck, bro. Like that's absolutely terrible. But then he tells me that he he starts researching um, for quite a while before he did start injecting things in his body. But he was just done with the bullshit from doctors, and he was just done getting told what he couldn't do and just not receiving the help that he needed. Um, and I can relate because like I've kind of been through a very similar situation, where I went to multiple doctors and they were like, the best I can give you is Viagra. And I'm like, I don't need Viagra. I need fucking testosterone. And none of them wanted to give it to me. So uh, I could relate to the frustration with the medical system. And he said after he started testosterone, he felt like a totally new person. And he felt like he could accomplish things in life, and he felt like he could then work on his business, um, business desires and his life basically. And it was like because his body was feeling so shitty, his mind didn't work and his spirit didn't work either because it just wanted to give up because how shitty he felt. And I was like, that's fucking rough. um, I didn't know what to say at that point, but it was it was interesting to hear. Um, and like at first, like I thought he was just some random person, like telling me their life story, like everyone fucking does. Well, not everyone, but it's like a lot. I find a lot of people like annoying at the gym, especially when I'm like training and I'm just like focusing on myself. But I should really be more like compassionate because sometimes I'm not. I'm only human. Sometimes I just don't give a fuck. But that day, I'm glad I did give a fuck, because it was quite the experience to see someone else's outlook that's somewhat similar to mine, on life, and seeing how self medicating, I guess you could say, although it's kind of a looked down upon term. If the doctors don't help you, why shouldn't you help yourself? That's kind of my opinion on it. Um, not saying you should do that. I'm not encouraging any specific type of behavior, just relaying to you my experience and my real life stories. Anyways, I offered my coaching to him, and he surprisingly wanted me to be his coach after I told him like all this stuff that I knew about managing his blood work. And so he sends me his blood work, and I go over his training program with him, and I give him like all the basic things like a diet, like going through like, okay, you need to be eating whole foods, you need to be having your micronutrients and uh, all of the and extra vitamins, because you're on steroids. There needs to be a little bit more than what a natural person would need. And so I help him with all this, and I go over his blood work, and I was like, okay, so estrogen's a little bit too high. Maybe we add in a tiny bit of Primo, like 5 or 10 milligrams a day of Primo, to control slightly high estrogen. And that actually was able to get his estrogen right in range, because he was taking like 500 testosterone, I believe. Um, and the estrogen was just slightly too high. So, Primo was a tiny bit of Primo was a good choice for him. Um, and so I'm coaching him with all this, and I'm telling him like what to do, and we're getting new blood work every couple of months to see if the things are fixed. Because this is like what I'm passionate about, is helping someone, if they want to be enhanced, like to manage their blood work in an appropriate way, that they don't have high blood pressure, um, they don't have the acne, they don't have the oily skin, the mood swings, which usually that's cured with daily injections of testosterone. But if we are using something like Anavar, like maybe adding in like a mega dose of pantothenic acid B5, found at any vitamin store, that's an option that might work for some people, and it has worked. Um, but if the estrogen's slightly too high, like usually you get side effects. But you don't want to have the estrogen too low, because then you don't have the sex drive, or your dick stops working, or just your joints start hurting, and all kinds of terrible things can happen. Estrogen is super important. It just has to be in the right range. So I'm helping him with all this shit, and I'm like, damn, like we did good. Like you're feeling good now, you're looking good. And I'm kind of like a sort of like a friendly therapist to him as well. Like I don't claim to be a doctor, of course. Like I'm not. This is just someone's asking me to do this because they trust me with this information, and I'm doing my best to correct any issues. And that's kind of what I am as a coach, is correcting things and overseeing things, and helping someone get closer to their goals for longer. Because if you mess up on your own, for example, and you have all these side effects, you're at more risk for dying early, which is not good. But he's a good guy. I can like I really like hearing emotional stories, because sometimes like is it that um most people are so uncomfortable? Is that why they're unhappy? At least that's why I was unhappy, because I was super uncomfortable and my hormones were not functioning naturally. I tried everything I could do naturally, and did that for 11 years, and it didn't work. That's why I went on testosterone. That's the only reason. Um, but doing anything extra than that is like, the icing on the cake, like, and that's totally up to the individual. But like, are we in a world that information is like hard to access, and that like we don't have the doctors that have the knowledge to fix basic shit like this? Like that's what scares me, and that's what makes me want to research every fucking day, and that's what I have been doing for the last nearly 20 years now. And like my passion is helping other people. And I'm just like so thankful that um the people that I have, that are my friends, like that they trust me. Like I never want to break that trust.